1, we are now live. So you guys feel free to share it as much as you would like.
Oh, are you just sharing the link?
Hi,
yes,
Mom.
yes.
Hi,
It'll appear on the Midwest Action Media, and then also the Paintball Therapy Facebook page and all the members there. And then you can share it from there. And Nick will be using his mushroom phone out in the woods.
Are you out in the woods right now? I'm out in the
What?
woods. No, I took a break.
Oh.
Yes, they have started to filter in. So welcome, everyone. This is Brad with Paintball Therapy. Again, spending time with legends of paintball. I would like to, Midwest
What?
legends, then let's do it that way. Midwest legends of paintball. We have
All
Nick
right,
Slowiak,
I'll take that.
Ninja Nick Matthews, and Yaya. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
What's up?
Hi.
Good. Typically, how I like to start is asking the players how they got involved with paintball. I'll start with Yaya because Yaya has been on the program before. But Yaya, give us a brief overview of how you got started.
I'll give you how I got started and then how I got to go pro, because the guy sitting to my right is the guy who actually gave me that opportunity. So I started for my 12th birthday party. I went and then pretty much just couldn't stop playing since I was 12. And then Nick found me when I was 19 years old, probably for a couple years, and kind of mentored me through Chicago. That guy actually, he lived in Lansing, right by Bad Boys Toys, and literally would let me drive and stay at his place, would never let me pay for any food or paint or anything, and just always just kind of took care of me, and then got me an opportunity to play on Aftershock. He got me a tryout, and then I don't think we ever had to play a pro tournament together, though. I think he moved back to Omaha at that time. Yeah. But that guy right there is the one who's literally responsible. Jeremy Somm gave me the opportunity to play on Aftershock, but Nick got me to those steps, and he's the one that found me from there. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you just kept coming over every weekend. Every weekend. I was like, man, this kid's here again. All right, come on in, dude.
Yeah.
It was good times, though.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, I never
times.
get back. Those are like, we slept on floors in a 1-bedroom apartment. That was amazing. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Sommer's in there right now.
Yep.
So
welcome, Jeremy. Welcome. And then how about you, Nick Matthews, Ninja?
I actually started, my brother got me into it, my older brother, because he was playing with some buddies from his work. So I was like, yeah, I'll come try it out. So I was using, I think it was a VM68 at the time. And then I was like, man, this thing sucks. So I went and bought my own gun. I could only afford the Tiger Shark, like the pump one.
Yep.
Dude, that sucked because everybody's shooting like, pro carbines or, pro lights or VM68s, all semi-autos, and I got a pump, and I'd always be the last one left. And they're like, rush him, he's got the pump. I'm like, and I just ran. All the time. But we started to get serious about it, and then somehow we ended up out at a warp field that Paulie was having a practice at. And we played a local event as Pure Evil, me, my brother, and a couple of his buddies. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I just kept hanging out at the pro shop, buying better guns, showing up to team practices, waiting for my turn down at CJ's. And then I got on with Paulie. When was that? I think it was NebraskaPaintball.com. And we played Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah, we were 5-man.
04.
Yep.
That's where we ran into each other in 04.
Yep. Yeah, 03, 04.
Yep.
And then I went pro after we won Chicago 5-man.
Yep.
In 04.
Yep.
And the rest is kind of history.
Absolutely.
Bled blue ever since.
Slowiak, your story.
The year was 1995.
That was 99. You told me before it was 99.
I was 10. I had to wait till I turned 10 to go play with my dad. But my dad had told me something about paintball. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, wait, you can just shoot people? Like, cool. Cowboys and Indians. And went to go play at Operation Paintball in Hampshire, Illinois.
Yep.
And got shot for the first time on like the collarbone. And was like, that didn't hurt. And then the next game I got shot in my wrist and I cried like a little bitch. And I was like, it was so bad. And the ref came over. He's like, man, are you all right? I'm like, yeah. Did it break? He's like, no. And I was like, oh, I can still play. He's like, no, you cried. You're out. And I was like, oh, all right.
You cry.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you can't. You're not playing. You're like, you're out. Get out. I was like, cool. But I mean, I fell in love with the game then. And I think one of the big things, I try to tell this to everybody, that got me was my dad got me we got a pump and and I couldn't tell you, I think they were Titmans maybe, but a pump and a semi-auto. My dad gave me the pump and I was like, I can't be doing this. And then we switched, and there was one game where he ran and I saw him dive over a tree, like a fallen tree, to get into a spot, and people were shooting at him. And I was like, don't shoot at my dad. And I was like, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. No, not at all. But found out some guys that in my middle school and then high school played paintball, and that was Chris Oseen, Mike Morley, Chris's brother Greg, and Chris's dad. And we started our first team as Surge, played in the CPSA, then started playing at the Badlands series, where I got introduced to this really loud and scary guy on Aftershock named Nick Matthews. And I was like, Jesus, that guy's serious. And then
scary. That was scary.
We'll get into that later.
You never scared me, buddy. You're my buddy since the beginning.
No, I think to jump off there, the one thing that, like, in getting to know Nick that impressed me was that knowing the shot guys, like the older guys, and how they just were very threatening and would fight. Like, Nick embodied every single aspect of that. And so I was like, cool, I can relate to someone that's my age. The dude's a dick and he's gonna fight people. Shit. So I just want to get on the team. Like, this makes it harder. This is not easy. So but yeah, then just started playing with my buddies, but I had no desire to play tournament paintball. I was happy in my camo, in my ghillie suit. Camo, just sneaking around the woods.
I think you really still are just happy. That's the only time I ever see you truly happy. You got and shoot an autococker in the woods, and had the girl.
I agree with that.
Oh, look at him! He pulls it out.
Oh, there it is.
One of many laying around. Yeah. Then
nice.
got competitive. Got cut because I wasn't dedicated enough, and then I just bugged the shit out of Solomon, Nick Matthews, and Yaya, and we would stay on Nick's floor, and I would drive. You know, when Nick finally said, "Okay, fine, Nick number 2, you can stay," I didn't have to drive 150 miles round trip Saturday and Sunday, and then that just allowed us, both Yaya and I, to just play more consistently with Shock and against them, and it got to the point where either we annoyed them enough, or I like to think we got good enough to where they were like, "Hey, maybe you should play with us instead of against us," and then we got on the team.
That was something actually that was really good. Back in the day was we had the Badlands series, and there was a lot of kids in the program. Like, I bet there was over like 100, 150 kids in the program, like throughout a couple of years, that if you got noticed by like a local pro that was out there, then you got an opportunity. And that's actually what showed growth, and it was growing in the Midwest. And that's where a lot of us came from, is because like people like Nick, it's really hard to get actually these days, is pros to be at the field every single weekend. And, you know, he took care of the Badlands, and it was just nice because it gave you the opportunity to have like a pro watch you and then find you. And then if that was the case, then he brought you to Psalm, and then Psalm went from there. But like, it was good because Nick was the base. Like, if you got noticed from Nick, then you were moving up the ladder. You're given a better opportunity than most. But that's hard for kids now because there's not that many pro teams, and there's not many pro players that are out there every single weekend just playing with the locals and, you know, watching the local scene and things like that.
Right. And that's kind of one of the common threads that we have through a lot of our episodes, is how we can create that back in the Midwest and build from it, and who better to learn from than people who have done it successfully. So that brings me to you, Nick, to Ninja. Tell me how it was to bring these guys into it, and the other people as well.
Well, it was kind of weird because like I was always at the field like almost every day when I was working there, So I'd always set up the fields. And then kids would call me when I'm actually building the fields, like, hey, man, we playing this weekend? I was like, every weekend, man, the door's always open. I mean, there's sometimes there'd be 12, 14, 16 kids in the apartment, in my one-bedroom apartment, just
that's for real.
Sleeping wherever they could. Yeah, like not even joking. Not even joking.
In the bathroom, in
We'd
the
all
tub.
carpool to the field, play all day long. Yep. Yeah, I don't know how many times Damien slept in the tub.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Every time he came.
Yeah, Damien and Tyler were the only two you had to worry about.
I
Everyone else
remember I was
good.
taking a shit and he just sat in the tub, and I'm like, all right, like that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like I didn't have air conditioning in the apartment. I only had air conditioning in my room. So like you'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or something, and Damien and Tally just be butt naked, just sleeping on the floor. Like, it's so hot.
Yeah. That was a sacrifice we were willing to make.
Yeah, it was wild.
Right. The things that
Right.
we would do.
Yeah, not me. No one's sleeping naked. Ah.
But I mean, I just felt like I had to give something back because I came up through the ranks. I mean, I played novice paintball for 4 months, and then I went pro. Like I played a whole year rookie, then I went novice. We won a 5-man because we're going out to the Badlands all the time for practice.
Right.
So we'd always try to get points in against Aftershock, and that was the hardest I ever played was against Shock because I knew if I didn't go to them, I'm gonna get it because I was a snake kid. They don't like people in the snake, and if I got in the snake, like I drew almost every single gun. Like I don't know how many times I got cussed off the field because Danny Love or Ryan Williams said that they shot me. I'm like, well, they must have shot me. I better get out because they're just screaming, "I'm gonna kill you, you little beep beep beep." I'm like, oh God, I better get out. And then they shot you until you were outside the nets. Like you didn't like do like the cool walk off, look behind you, like look at me, I'm walking off the field. No, you ran off the field.
Right. Sprinted. Right.
Listen, I got a good one for you, Nick.
Yes.
One of the first practices Nick got me to. Blake Pruitt needed a gun, and Speedy didn't get there fast enough. And they got in a fist fight in the middle of the game because he didn't bring him a gun fast enough. Okay, like that's how intense that shit was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm just looked at him as like,
that's right, Jeremy. So Jeremy just commented about the rat's nest because what's funny is I was in the same apartment building as Bruno and Dino shared, back in the early 90s. I was just 2 doors down. So it's like it was the rat's nest version 2.0. It was kind of cool. I like kind of continued the legacy of that. It was kind of weird. It just worked out, man.
And then Ninja, how did you get into the stream of Aftershock and then bring these guys in with you?
Well, like I was saying, we'd go up to Chicago all the time for practice as NebraskaPaintball.com when I was under Greg Pauly's wing. And then Jeremy kind of started coming around. What's that?
How long of a drive was that?
It's
like 8 hours?
Like 8 hours.
Yeah. Remember that, kids that are listening.
Like 8 hours.
8 hours to go
Yeah.
play at the Badlands.
Yeah. Yep. Because that was the only like real competition around was the Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
Yep.
You either went to Chicago or you went to the West or East Coast. This is early 2000s. So I mean, there's a little bit of a scene down in St. Louis, but nothing like the depth that you had at the Badlands.
Right. And then what years did you guys
practicing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what years, who got together first, and what years did you guys play on Shock?
It was Nick, and then me.
Actually, I haven't played. Yeah. I don't think I was on the roster with either of the guys, to tell you the truth. I was before their time.
Yep. So walk me through that timeline then. When did you start playing with them, Nick? Ninja.
It'd be
with the audio
like 2004, delay. I'd say.
Okay.
2004
and then Yaya?
like
with Aftershock for 2008 was my first season with them.
Okay. And then Slowiak?
2007.
Okay, so that was the overlap, but you guys basically grew up because you were playing with Voltage. Yaya was around with teams as well, and you guys were just looking up to Nick. And then the issue is, did you guys see the difference between Jeremy and Mikey Bruno's coaching styles? Is there a difference between the two?
Well, we skipped a lot.
Yes, yes.
I played on both.
I've only played under Jeremy. I've never played under Bruno as my coach.
And how about you, Slowiak?
I played under both.
I got out of that shit show.
Well, yeah, I played under both of them. I mean, I'll tell you what, there was definitely a transition. Like, I got cut from Voltage, played for Thunderstruck with Marty and those guys.
Okay.
Marty Bush?
Yeah, no.
Yep.
Jesus, Marty Bush.
No.
That happened.
I think the late 90s, bro.
Yeah, geez, wrong coast. No coast, baby.
I remember Marty had white hair for Thunderstruck. Bigger
guy. Jesus, where the hell were we? Yeah. In any case, I think that the thing to point out is Nick had to move back to Omaha,
Chris.
And that's how I got on the team, because Nick had to leave and he moved back home to take care of some personal stuff, and that's when the door opened up for me. And I was actually working at ProCaps at the time, and Jeremy was my boss. I was a shipper receiver for ProCaps and doing paint and stuff, and it was like a couple of weeks before the MAO event, and he's like, "Hey, man, want to play on Shock?" Matthews is gone. And I was like, Nick's gone? Like, the one dude I wanted to play with on the team? And he's like, yeah, he's gone. And like, so you want to play in this? Well, what do I do about my other teams? Like, you have one choice, like one chance to play in the team. And so I literally had to have Denver Altitude just come into town. We were playing with them. We won the first event in California at the Staples Center.
Bitches.
And I had to tell him, I was like, hey guys, I'm playing against you this weekend on Shock. But that was under Jeremy. And the one thing I was going to point at is watching the evolution of who Aftershock was when I think Yaya and I first got there and we're playing against them with Nick and some of the older guys, right, to what it morphed into, to having LP and Blake and Darcy, Tristan. You know, that team, man, changed so much every year. And then bringing in Damien and Tolly and those guys shifting. We did have like a true Midwest team to a point where the old guard was gone. At the end of 2005, 2006, you had Billy and Todd and Ryan had all went and played for the Ironman and left, and that was successful for them.
That was
so
06.
Yeah, so it was, dude, it was crazy because like I can remember just thinking those guys and like, man, this is what I want to play with. Like, you had Nick. Nick was, I think, for a lot of us and a lot of guys that didn't make it to the pro level for Shock in that organization, or then that camp or that cult, whatever you want to call it, all of us that showed up at Badlands, he was the shining light because he was the youngest guy on the team. And it's like, if he can do it and we can mimic what he does, and you know what I mean, like, fucking talk shit and overshoot the shit out of people. And
hey, Nick was he's a tough motherfucker.
Yeah, dude. Like, but that's it. You saw that he was cut from the same mold as all those other guys. Like, you had to do that. Like, that's how you survived.
That's exactly what it was.
Right.
So it was exciting, and then he had to move back to Omaha, and then.
I mean, we're talking about a combination of Nick doing that. You got Jeremy Psalm. You got Floyd Rose. Okay.
Oh, damn. Can't forget about Floyd.
Floyd Rose. And then you got fucking people like Blake and Speedy fighting on the field, beating the shit out of each other. Of course I wanted to be a part of that.
literally shooting each other into the ground, throwing their guns at each other, and then wrestling around, punching each other in the face. Like,
America.
Oh, here we go again. Oh, I guess I'm going to shoot him. Knock it off.
The quietest one was LP, and he scared me more than anybody because he was so fucking quiet.
So true.
Yep. Like the silent assassin.
He was cool as shit. He was just quiet. I was like, this dude's going to kill somebody for sure.
Yeah. And then there was Rob Plum with his flowing hair.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those. It's one of those things where there's so many chapters to the Aftershock story where originated and started to where Nick was. When I hear about Nick Matthews from people, they say that he was probably one of the guys from the Shock camp that would talk to you, that he was outgoing, a personable guy, but also just like Yaya pointed out, he gave it to you on the field, but he'd talk to you afterwards, where most of the other guys would be busy fighting each other. So it's kind of like the segments about how you choose to tell the story or what exact era of Shock you guys talk about. Because again, you came up in the Midwest looking up to Nick and being motivated to take a spot like his. When he was out and the older guys came in, it was the youth's turn with different directions from those old players. So all of that is a great story.
It's
and
the
like
story.
that, I think that's why I embrace like the youth coming up, is because I was that snot-nosed kid at the field every weekend, waiting for my shot to play, buying 2 cases of paint, maybe shooting 1 bag because I never got the rotations. So it just like, I understand the struggle of trying to make it onto like a legitimate team. So I think that's why I had such a big heart for the kids coming up, because the Midwest, it was hard, man. Like everybody hated everybody. Like you had to go out and punch everybody in the nose to get the respect that you deserved on the field. I'll never forget. I was playing the UWL and Tom Cole called me the nicest mean guy you'll ever meet. And I just kind of laughed.
It's probably accurate.
When it's goggles on, I'm a completely different person. I am out there to shoot you into the ground.
God.
I want you to not want to go to that spot again, because I shot you so many times when you went there. You're like, I'm not going to go there again. That's how, when I grew up in the scene, that was intimidation was 99% of the game. Just who you're lining up against. Like, oh man, that guy's going to shoot me. Oh man, I better stay short, blah, blah, blah. It was all a mental game, mental game.
Makes complete
100%.
sense.
I like even doing it now. It's like you get at practices and like you got a guy that will take a few in the back and he thinks that he's going to be tough inside the net, but then it really doesn't come down to that. He's just bitching because he got overshot. But I don't know. I try to overshoot the shit out of
kids. Don't even know what overshot is.
Yeah, I was gonna say
kids do not know what overshooting is. Dude, try playing 15 balls a second full auto, then talk to me about overshooting.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I mean, we were doing this pre 15 balls a second.
Right.
Like, I still remember clear as day when Hinman showed up to play with Shock, and he had a DM4. And I was like, that's what kind of alien weird relic is this? Like, where did you dig that from? And he shot that thing, and I was like, I don't want to play.
I remember when Salma used his Shock Tech DM5 and had an ag board in it.
Yeah, I remember giving you my Shock Tech SFT. Dude, it's one of the first times I meet. We're what is it? Take Aim Indoor in Illinois, and I get this brand new Shock Tech SFT shocker.
Pewter.
Black. It's in my bin over there. I still have it.
I thought it was pewter.
Oh wow.
The thing was shooting like
it's in my bin.
Dude, I've got all my paintball stuff here. The thing was shooting like 22 balls a second, like out of the box. And I give it to Yaya, and I was coaching. And he's like, he comes out to a corner and is just like torching people. I think he like cut Danny Tiljack in half that day. It was insane. It was insane. People were like looking at this gun and like those are small guns. Like that thing is shooting that fast. And it was that trigger on that gun and the way that Smart Parts had that set up with, that was insane. But yeah, you don't even, if your first thing, and this like not a dig at like Nick for saying that, but like if your first thing is say, man, 15 balls a second, like then you're missing a whole other era of when it was lawless. I mean, playing against the NXL Shock, when it was the NXL players started with their guns pointed down at the ground and was in front of them. We were touching, we're trying to be like honorable, and we're touching the start box like freaking retards, thinking, well, this is how we're supposed to play. And these guys are going,
nope.
Oh, we were cut in half.
As long as it's below your waist.
Oh my God, it was insane. Yeah,
had
overshot.
Below your waist.
Yeah, I want to hear about overshooting.
I remember I think it was in 04 before we capped the guns. They had to put backer on the netting because we were shooting holes through the net when guys are like walking to the pits, and we're shooting guys walking to the pits through the netting.
Oh yeah.
They had to put like that blackout behind it.
Yeah. That's
I
one
mean,
of the
it
reasons.
was 22, 24 balls a second was common. Like you couldn't run to a corner. You
No.
had like delay out and then go.
I literally would
Just
be
because you had
shot
to wait
from
for
my
the
head to my
roller to be
foot.
empty.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah.
I can remember coming home pink.
Yep.
And I'm getting in trouble for like
My belly button would be stained pink.
dude, it was terrible. God.
Suffering from pink trauma. That's the whole thing.
Well, it's funny because it's come full circle now. Like pink is
Right.
back. Like
Right.
it's the best.
Yeah, it's back for sure.
But you're just not getting shot. You're not getting shot that much.
Right, with the mechanicals. Yes. Let's talk about the mechanical resurgence. Ninja Nick has been a highly recruited Midwest recruit in the mechanical realm of things. There's an event in Chicagoland. Slowiak has played on numerous mechanical teams. Yaya, I don't know if the bug has bitten you yet, but we'll hopefully get you there.
I got some 10-mans in there for sure, and I got a couple mechanicals that we beat the shit out of Shock in a couple years ago. And
Okay.
at the Badlands on the field they built and then they practiced on, we took them out.
Fantastic. That's how it is. So
Wasn't me.
Slowiak,
I was playing with
Wasn't
Philly,
me.
the enemy.
yep. Wasn't the final match though 20 on 20? Was there even a final game played?
So the first
We won.
the first Fight Club 10-man. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, for whatever reason, and it's fuzzy now. I don't remember how this ever came about. Probably because Frank Connell was bitching about whatever Frank Connell bitches about. We had to play
Just call me as
Everything.
you said that.
Small World.
He
Huh?
did? Yeah.
Well, for whatever reason, we had to play. We did 20 on 20 on the snake
Yeah.
field, and it was
Right.
stupid. And I think Matt Davis shot me in the back, and I was like, "Come on, Matt."
Right.
But I can remember, dude, Gant got in an argument with Ronnie Simpkins about something, and he wanted to go like come at Ronnie, and I was like, "Better not do that, Gant." I wouldn't go after him, but it was insane, and I'm pretty sure we won. So I don't know what Yaya's talking.
Yeah, I believe that.
We're
that
talking
was
about different tournaments because I
Okay.
wasn't there.
That was probably the second Fight Club 10-man that you were at, Yaya.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm assuming
Yeah.
so. I don't know.
Yep. You were playing with Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they won. That was the second one.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
Yep. And yeah, the first event was the 20 on 20.
Yeah, but that was true mechanical too. There was no 5.5 electronic. Like you had to use a
Yep.
mechanical gun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
No exceptions.
No exceptions. There were some mags out there, but they weren't runaway mags.
Yeah, it was
so
Manny.
that's the important.
Just
yeah,
Manny.
yeah, Manny. I
Manny
think Todd
Francia?
got his too.
This Manny.
Oh yeah.
Just Manny.
Yeah, he's your go-to man. Like you can count on
Right.
Manny.
Right. Now, Nick, Ninja Nick,
Yep.
from Nebraska, and there's a lot of classic players down there. Do you see
Mhm.
the classic? And they were starting a classic 3-man, I believe, in your area. Do you see that
Right.
is taking off down there?
I think a lot of guys are transitioning from the electronic guns to mechanical guns because it's more of like a pure form of the sport. Like you have to think about every single trigger pull. I mean, there's emotion behind every time you pull. It's just not, a battery doing the work for you. Because every time I go and play, there's more and more mechanical guns at the field, which I like because, I mean, that's how I grew up was playing mechanical. So it's like, when you're in the woods and some kid shooting, 15, 17 balls at you with his shocker or his DM or whatever, you're like, okay, I'm just going to snap this dude in the face because he's just falling asleep at the wheel.
Right.
So, I mean, I think a lot of people are seeing the skill that it takes to play mechanical, and they're just trying to adapt to it just because there's so many mechanical events now.
Right. And that's a good thing. I think that's a very good thing because it's more approachable, and
Exactly.
From a value standpoint as well. You're not going out there with space guns ripping at a ramping speed. You're able to intend every shot. So that makes complete sense. Flipping into the current state of airball, because that's a Midwest thing that we can all connect with as well. Slowiak, congratulations on the finish in Vegas. There's of course conspiracy theories out there, but again, congratulations. What?
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 That's the alcohol talking.
Correct. I got you.
My mic cut out. What did you say?
Right.
What's that?
Was there a niner in there?
No.
It's one of those things that I think the old standard players, there we go, the old classic players have ties to a lot of the current NXL players, and sometimes they don't get that connection. There's nothing there for
Nick's
you.
over there flexing.
Right.
Flex it, baby. Flex it.
Completely flexing.
All I got right now.
Yeah. Nick, tell me how, you used everything from the past into molding your game into what it is, because it's consistent evolution.
Oh, it definitely is. Jeez, I'm gonna sound like a bitch. So no, dude, I swear to God, it's one of those things where I think coming up, and when I got onto Aftershock, and my job was to play with Darcy on the snake side, and either get to the corner or get into the snake behind him, or we really didn't have plays. It was just kind of a shit show when I look at how things have evolved.
We had breakouts.
Yes, we had breakouts, and then it was whatever.
Yep.
So
yep.
There was really no fear of doing anything. I mean, yeah, I would screw up, and Jeremy would berate, he would mother. Yeah, it was bad.
He would coach you.
To the way that he did it, and to give it to him, he's still that way. He's still his troops. I guess that's how Jeremy is.
Yep.
I don't think there was much learning in really breaking down the game. That what really helped me in doing that was being part of the webcast when Maddie asked me to do that and actually pay attention to why people were doing these things and keeping track of kills. I mean, holy shit, that's why Billy Bernacci made that move and did that, because he probably thought about what he did, and he knew if he did this and this and this, and he had someone behind him on Doc's Warriors doing that, he could do it. I was like, that makes sense. I should probably think a little bit harder about before I just run to the corner and dive in and start shooting. So, playing on chalk, fearless, didn't really care. And we just kind of did things by the seat of our pants. And that takes us to World Cup, when Yaya and I step out there to play against the Russians, and we've been just murdering people and don't have a team meeting, don't break anything down, don't talk about what the Russians are doing. And they know exactly what we're doing because we're doing the same thing over and over again, and they beat the shit out of us. To this day, I can't even remember a single point. It was over.
I had started 2 weeks.
Dude, it was insane. No, it was insane.
Yep.
So that transitioned into someone giving me a tip about some Texas team with Russians on it, and it was something else, and playing under Jason Trozen, and trying to bring that same mindset from Shock into that program. It didn't work. It didn't work. And the way that team evolved is you had a set of starters that played, and there was a group of us that if we got to play, we got to play. And more often than not, we didn't get to. And so there was for me, there was a fear that if I go out there and if I fuck up, I'm not going to be able to play again. Or I don't even know if I'm going to get a chance to play at all. There were tournaments I played maybe 1 point. And I was like, what am I doing wrong here? Go back to Shock with Bruno, or go to 187, and things are a little bit more structured. But it's kind of I took that same fear that was built up in me for not playing, and I played more conservative. And I even saw that looking back at my matches in Vegas. I kind of played like a pussy. I sat in the back center. I didn't take the moves that I knew that I had. And there's more to it. A-Rod is definitely, I think, more of a let him off the leash and let him do his thing. And I had a job to do, but there were times where I'm my gut told me to do something, which is, I think is what helped me ultimately back in the day on Shock. 15 years ago, become the player that I was, and I lost that. I was like, "Why? I shouldn't move. I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stay here. It's safer to stay here." Well, screw being safe. Like, what are we doing? Like, what am I doing? And so I think that's one of the things that's been like a pro and a con. It affected me big time on X Factor because I never got to start on that team in 2 years, and it made me think like, man, why am I not starting? What am I not doing? You know, and my answer, the thing I always defaulted back to, is just play it safe. Don't make a mistake. And I think that hurts a lot of people. And I think, you can go back to coaching. Did coaching help people? Did it not help? Yeah, you can jump in any time. Help me out here.
Right.
I'm rambling.
No,
Where's my peanut butter? It's my
and I'm not trying to shit on anybody or anything else, but when kids get the opportunity, so say if you have a smaller roster because you don't have a big budget or whatever it may be, or you're a low budget team, I'm not trying to shit on anybody about this, but you are at a better chance to grow, but kids don't see that. They just think that they want to get paid or they just want to win pro tournaments or whatnot. Half-time kids aren't even ready to win pro tournaments to even understand like exactly what it takes. It took, Psalm told us, hey, you guys all stay together for 3 years. You're going to be in the finals eventually. And eventually we were in the finals. We got smacked around in the finals, but we were there. But what kids don't understand is like, yeah, on Houston Heat, it's hard to get a lot of playtime, or teams like X Factor or, higher end team, or even like the Russians, they keep a small roster for one reason. You get your guys into a rhythm and they can perform. But if you have such a large roster that it's hard to like figure out, and on Heat, it's hard because the fact that like that coach has to figure out what are the best 5 guys playing on Sunday or for Sunday and then go from there. So yeah, opportunities are very hard, but when you have a lower team, like a not a top 10 team, we'll just say that, it's easier for them to get more experience and it's better for them. They just don't realize it. They're just trying to rush to get their name out there and get onto a better team. So I encourage a lot of people and a lot of players, what they don't understand is like Nick gave me the opportunity to get onto Aftershock. And then, you play and then you play and you play and you play and you always have to practice, but they don't understand experience is what you need. So if you can play on a team that's a lower end team, then do it for as long as you can until you really feel like you are ready. Like there's not very many players that have come from lower end teams that get to play a lot. And yeah, it was hard for when we started Houston Heat because Jason Chosen was there to make sure we won. So he had to put in the guys that he felt at the time and who were way qualified better at their jobs than we were. We just thought we were, which were the Russians at the time. And then you had people like Chad George. But at the same time, like a lot of kids don't understand that. They don't understand that they need experience. They need experience with game time. They need experience with practice. A lot of guys they're weekend warriors. They play once or twice a weekend and think it's okay. Yeah, a lot of us have been given the opportunity, but I know some of the guys that have full-time jobs that still go out there and they are busting their ass either in the gym or they're going to the field once or twice a week during the week. And then they're playing on the weekends as well. But that just goes on what your passion is for the sport and how much you actually love the sport, or like what you're actually trying to accomplish. Yeah, it's great to play on a team like Heat or Impact or X Factor or Dynasty or even the Russians. But past that, it's hard for a lot of people to understand that. Like to play on those teams and to be big names, are you going to go play better than Archie Montemayor or even with A-Rod? Look at A-Rod. When he gets in a rhythm, he goes. If he can't get in a rhythm, then he's not going to go. He's going to play safe. Yeah. A lot of kids don't understand that. If they can't get in a rhythm, then yeah, it sucks. A lot of people don't realize this, but Fred Berkeley, he plays almost every single point on the Outlaws, and he's good. And people don't realize that because he legit, like, he gets like beat on in tournaments, but he's almost the last guy every single time.
What's the stigma of that team?
Yeah. And people don't realize like that guy, he could play on a Heat or an Impact or an X Factor because he's got the experience. And a lot of kids like, oh, I just want to go to that top team because they're the top team. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to play on Shock or Philly because they either A, got paid, or that was the guys you saw in the magazine, or even Dynasty. Right. But a lot of kids don't understand. Just put your time in and get as much experience as you can.
Life lessons, #pro tip.
Yeah.
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
So, Ninja,
yep.
one of the things that is kind of interesting and important to me is the ability to coach and to teach the younger generations. What would you give the younger generation as advice from somebody who's lived it from your end, in your perspective?
I would say you have to have an open mind and you are always wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're looking up to a guy who has hours and hours and hours ahead of you in experience inside the nets. So you have to listen to them. You can't sit and argue like, well, I can't do that. I'm going to get shot. I'm like, well, you got to do it. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. If you do this and the guy behind you can close the game, like, because the biggest thing I have with like front guys is they always want to go up. They want to shoot 3-4 guys and then bunker the last guy. That's not your job. Your job is to cause as much chaos as you can, draw as many guns so the guys behind you can clip packs, clip loaders, push people in so you can make the next spot. Like, yeah, there's a lot of glory in being a front guy because that's the guy you see running down, ear-holing people, but the guys doing the work are the guys behind you. So
right.
if you're coming up trying to be a front guy, you have to learn to be fast and you have to learn how to stay alive. Because if you make the spot and you come out within the first 10, 15 seconds when you got 3-4 guns on you, you get shot in the face, well, what's the point? Why'd you even go? We should have just started with 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to listen to the guys that are willing to take time out of their day to teach you. Because I've tried to teach kids and they know everything. They're, I've been playing this spot for 2 years. I'm like, well, I've been playing it for about 16, kid. So
right.
You got to be
a lot to learn.
You got to be a sponge, man.
Yeah,
yep,
and
you have to be.
I don't think a lot of players understand just how hungry all the pros are, even the top pros, because it's something that Slowiak touched on. When you have different coaches, when you have different philosophies, you can learn things from coaches, from players, and again, adapt that to your playing style in your overall game. How has that affected you, Yaya?
As far as adapting to coaches?
Yes.
I had some, and it was great because he gave me the opportunity and he taught me as much as I could learn, like in that program. What the things I was provided with on Aftershock, he taught me as much as I could do. Then when I went on to Houston Heat and with Jason Trozen, he gave me a whole nother aspect of the game. And, it turned my head just different ways. And then, one thing that Jason always stressed to me was he knew I could be good, but I wasn't working hard enough. And I thought I was, and I thought I knew everything, just like Nick said. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm like, this guy just is not going to see it. But it was right. The second I started working harder and harder and harder, and I might not be the most talented guy in the room, but I can outwork anybody in the room. So with that, I literally just like always try to put myself in that position to work harder and harder and harder. And, adapting to what a coach wants or whatever, it just depends really like how open-minded and how much of a sponge you're going to be. And I'm probably still not even the easiest guy to coach. And, at the same time, it's like, I got people like Konstantin Fedorov that show me things and I listen the second he says it. And I trust everything he says. If he asks me to do something, I believe in it 120% because that guy has been there for years on end and he sees things that I truly believe that other people don't understand. Yep. So it's like, to be a great teammate or a great player on the team, you have to be open-minded. You have to go in it with, hey, I might be good at something, but to be great, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to be willing to go out there and like even with Nick earlier, like I study other players. Like I study A-Rod. That's the guy, like when I play the center, is he goes and does so much for his team because he might die every single point, but his job is to cause chaos. And that releases his players to go and do what they need to do. And so I try to do that for my team.
Perfect. Slowiak, your opinion on multiple coaches and multiple theories?
Well, I think some of their theories are, kept to themselves. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they want to win. I mean, in thinking back on how coaches have impacted me, the way that Jeremy and Bruno, the same connection they have is that they're going to speak their mind to you. And if they think you messed up or they know you messed up, you're going to know it. And they are going to mother you the entire time. And I think the one thing that the way that they talk to me, and Bruno made a comment the other day about this. He made a comment to me in Vegas about doing something, and it just made me mad. And I went out there and I shot all 5 guys. And it's just the way that Jeremy and Bruno talked to me pulled a better player out of me. It probably wasn't the nicest thing, but it's just that's what I was brought up on and the way I was coached in paintball and what I saw showing up to Badlands and hearing those guys talk to each other. Like, that's just the way it was. Like, there was no other culture for us.
There's no being babied. There's no
and so like,
but I love that though. I love that I didn't get babied. Like I'm glad that like I had a clinic and I told the kid he got overshot and I said, hey, you're not a bitch. Tell him you're gonna shoot him again next time. He quit the clinic, called his mom, and I'm like, I don't care. They asked me to apologize. I said, I'm not like, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand the people that I've had, like, help me grow in this sport. So yeah, like Nick was saying, like, they wouldn't say it the nicest way, but it would be, it's
fight or flight. It's going to make you or break you. And you really, at the time, I don't know that I digested it and broke it down. It probably as good as I could have. But I definitely learned something. And if you messed up, Jeremy was sitting you. If you did well, you play. Bruno, kind of the same way, different attack mindset and the way the game was played. Definitely, I think more along the lines of the way Nick described stuff earlier. But things have definitely evolved. And now, getting to work with Todd, Todd is almost in the same cut as those guys. And it's an interesting story because he cut his teeth playing for Shock.
Yes.
Who technically was the coach at the time. I don't know if it was just Rennick when they were playing 10-man. But, he played with some of the you want to talk about legends.
Right.
He played with those guys and he won with them. And then, coming up to Dynasty. So, he's very this is black and white. Like, he looked at the snake in Vegas. It was like, it's a long snake. We're going to win by going down the snake. Go down the snake. Why aren't you going down the snake? Like, and it was like, to him, it's, it just makes sense.
I was there for those moments.
Yeah, you were there for those moments.
Taking the brakes off those bitches.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. So, yeah, it's just, but I don't know. In asking that question, Brad, I don't know that enough people take the time to stop and think about these things. And that's why I think, a good player becomes a great player when they see things and they react to them. But it's not only just that. It's digesting things and thinking about it. And everything that Yaya said and Nick has said, it just makes sense. But I don't know that people do the due diligence and put enough mental, thought into it.
Right.
There's plenty of people that are completely athletically talented and go out there and sprint to one spot or the other. Yeah. I mean, I've watched him play I don't know how many tournaments where that he is such an effective weapon going up the middle and will get the job done, but he's not used. You know what I mean? Like he said, he's not the greatest player out there, but he knows how to get out there and do his damn job. And it's just not utilized. You have to make yourself into that weapon, into that tool. And sometimes you're just not seen and the circumstances go a different way. But, you have to think about that.
It makes sense. And it's one of the fascinating things because I deal a lot with the lower divisional teams coming from Minnesota and hearing things that they think is the perspective of tournament paintball players, especially top pros, because we don't have really, Aaron Tholey was the only one that was from this area who lived in this area and who was approachable by his players. But again, it's one of those things where you have these preconceived notions from players and people are brought up in that. And sometimes it's hard truths that we all need to learn to go and overcome those objections.
Yeah.
Those obstacles.
Yeah. How bad do you want it, man? What do you get all dressed up for every weekend and spend the money to do? For me, I wanted to play pro. I wanted to play an Aftershock. I wanted to win with my friends. And I'm lucky that I've had the opportunity to do all of that on multiple teams. And I still think to this day, if we would have kept the Chicago group of the Midwest group of guys together, that those guys would have been the next dynasty. If you look at the list of guys that have come out of the Midwest, that even to this day play on other teams that are not Chicago based, it's a travesty. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous.
The Voltage kids, man.
Yeah.
The Voltage kids.
And then, even guys.
Hey, remember when I...
Go ahead, Ninja.
Go ahead, Ninja.
Remember when I snuck into that Voltage tryout?
Yeah, that was
Randall was like, "Hey, man, you want a spot?"
Shout out, Mike.
That was so fun.
Yeah, how well that would have went
funny.
over. Rennick would have killed you.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Well, because it was on a Saturday, and I had 2 cases to shoot. I was like, well, they're having a tryout. I'll just sneak in on the tryout. I was shooting my NXL gun, 15 balls a second, full auto, just running kids down, running like coast to coast. It was pretty fun. Then Randall's like, "Hey, you want to spot?" I'm like, "I already got a team, man. Thanks."
Yeah. Hey guys, if you can't shoot that dude in the blue Aftershock jersey, you're not going to make this team. So shoot that dude right there.
Yep.
That's funny.
And
Good times.
now, one of the things that we've discussed in other episodes is the importance of clinics. Yaya and Ronnie do multiple clinics in the Chicagoland area to expose new players to the appropriate way, the right way to do things.
Yeah.
Nick, are you involved with any clinics currently, or just like the national team? Yes, you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I do a lot of stuff through BKI in terms of clinics. Since I've moved to Florida, I haven't done much of anything here. I haven't really had the time. And traveling for X Factor, and then now traveling for the Ironman, and obviously no one's playing paintball really at all today.
Right.
But doing stuff through BKI and the summer camp, the combines, any opportunity I can get to go and do a clinic, I'll do, as long as the weekends, don't compete with anything else, and my wife allows me. But yeah, I love it. I think that's the baseline. Some of the opportunities that are available to players now, via the internet and social media, is, God, if we had those opportunities, and we could, us being allowed to play with Aftershock, a point was a clinic. Being allowed to take the time to stop what we were doing and go watch them play in the woods or on the airball field or the hardball field was a clinic. That's what we got. I can remember sitting for probably an hour after we were done playing and trying to ask all the shot guys to do a one-on-one. And finally, Ronnie Simpkins said, "Fine, I'll play you."
Yep.
And I was like, that was it. That was my teaching moment. I was so jacked up. I don't know that I remember much of anything. And they told me I shot him, but he cheated me. I still hold on to that. But those were the opportunities that we were given that we probably didn't really grasp the significance of them at that moment. But God, dude, if the kids today that can talk the shit on the internet, and that a lot of them do,
Cheeto fingers and all,
when they don't show up to these opportunities that are presented to them, because they think they're too good, or they don't want to spend the money. That tells me everything I need to know about, hey, should this kid be legitimately picked up on a pro team, or should I even give him the opportunity to look at him? Because if your mental mindset's not there and you're not going to take the time to put yourself out there to show me you're a good player, I don't really give a shit. Right. I don't have time. There's too many other players out there that are putting in the effort. I'll pay attention to you. Yep.
And now, talking about the BKI stuff and Boston and all of that wrapped in a lot of the other episodes that I've had, people have said great things about the Combine, the experience from divisional players to working with some of the pros. Can you just touch on how involved or what you do? Because I know that you're very close with Jackson. Have a great picture with Jackson. So tell me, and you've affected his career as well. But again, for those who don't know, please fill in those gaps.
Wait, who's Jackson?
Jackson Frey from Black.
So Jackson has come up through the program and put. Well, it's like you said, Jackson, like Michael Jackson.
What are you
talking about here, man?
Like, way back in Dallas.
Look, I'll say this, and not just to focus everything on Jackson. And obviously, he has playing with you and being part of that organization a little bit more of an impact. He comes out and he just plays and has come out and been a student of the game. Grayson Goff, shout out to you. But just asked questions and been attentive and has shown that he cares, and you see a progression, and he's sacrificing, he's putting money up, sacrificing time and effort to come out to do these things. And he's gotten better. At the Combine in Florida a couple months ago, there were a handful of kids that came out and played, and a lot of them are part of the Team USA program, right. The U19, or around that age. They could be playing pro right now. One of them got picked up. Is playing on AC Dallas. There's, dude, it's some of these kids are good, and it tells me a lot when they show up and they put forth the effort, and you see them getting better, and they stick around and they do the drills. I could name off a handful of those guys that if I had the opportunity, if I had won the lotto and I could create a team, I would put them on a team and I would just let them go at it, because I would love to, just like I want to give my kids better opportunity than I've been given. I want to give these players coming up a better opportunity that I was given. And I think
was saying that last time, Brad, and you're sorry, I jumped in.
It's okay.
In the last podcast I was in, people like Mike Hinman, who have founded Alex Goldman, Dalton Vanderbilt. I wouldn't say he found Rainey Stanzak, but he definitely had Rainey Stanzak in his program for certain reasons.
Right.
Brandon Cornell. Those are just 4 players off the top of my head I could just name right there. But it's like, then, I mean, even with Jeremy Solom has found so many talented players just out of the Midwest on just what he's been given, just the hand he's been given. Greg Pauly, same thing. Like, those 3 people right there are people who have found people and no talent in paintball. But if kids, a lot of times, like you said, Nick, before, and I'll reiterate it, kids that sit on the internet and talk shit, and they probably got little Cheeto fingers and stuff like that, and they think it's funny. But
I love Cheetos.
They're not out there like Jackson Fries. I've like, Jackson was on one of our last clinics, and he just came out to play. Like, we didn't really have to even say much to him. The kid has it. He's gonna play pro eventually. If he doesn't, and like sooner than later, he's gonna play. Like, he's good. He's a sponge. He knows it. And then there's other kids that are around him in the Midwest that are doing it. They just haven't had that exposure, or they haven't been seen by the right person. Me, I was given the opportunity because I met Nick Matthews, and Nick saw me playing a Badlands tournament, and then it went from there. Nick lived in the area, and then, he had the opportunity to go work at Draxis, and then Jeremy gave me the opportunity to play then. So it's just, it all kind of works itself out in the same pathway. It just depends how bad you want it and how much you're putting yourself out there. Like Nick said before, this kid's here again every single weekend. Like that's
people see that.
Yeah.
People are taking note. You might not think it, and I know if there's other people listening, however far this gets out there, people are paying attention. Like, we're taking notes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see you.
Yes. You're absolutely right. And the people who have the eyes are always paying attention because they're looking for the next biggest, greatest thing.
Yeah.
And that's it's one of the ulterior motives that I've had by doing these podcasts, is having a conversation with Midwest guys who have a vested interest in building up the Midwest, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do, just in the way that I can, but I can only do it as much as I can with the quality of people around me, and I need help. And that's why it's Ronnie and Yaya and Ninja, with me, and in any capacity that you guys can help is what I need. So I'm, again, welcoming you guys to contribute anything to me, to the squad, to the Midwest, because you've been doing it for years, and it's time that you get recognized for it. And again, keep doing it, because that's all we know.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's who I would start to thank is you guys, because again, a lot of the original guys, I started coming down to Chicago when I was 17, 18. I was raised exactly the way that Ninja Nick was, in the woods with the old Aftershock guys, just giving it to you every weekend. It was something that I wanted to always be a part of, and eventually got there. But you guys, I want to thank for doing it the way, again, that I was raised. You're continuing on that Midwest value, tough love kind of thing, but that you are always there to raise a hand and help the people that are there that want it as bad as you. So thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. Ninja Nick and I have gone way back, and he knows how I feel about the topic. So that's where I'll leave that. But I want to give you guys a chance to thank the people who you might not get to thank all the time. It doesn't have to be sponsors. It doesn't have to be that. It's just people who might not get the recognition at other times. So Slowiak, we can start with you.
People who don't get recognition. Well, I don't know if he's still in here, the crazy white ass man, but Psalm. I think
he popped up just when you said it. So
yeah, I mean, Jeremy did what he did in the situation he was in with the resources he had. Paintball was evolving in the time that Nick had taken a step back and Yaya and I were coming in. It was 2007 to 2008. Like, it wasn't a good time in the world, and the resources and the stuff that Rennick was going through, and we were living off of the Aftershock name for what it was built up to be, and not what we had accomplished. So
just different friendships, really.
Yeah. So what Jeremy did with us was great. If I go back even farther, LB, Brian Fow.
Yes.
Dude, he helped me out and the Voltage guys out a lot, and was always there. Yeah. I know I've had a lot of good times with him, and when he was working for Key, for Empire, and Psalm and I were working for ProCaps, and we'd go out downtown Chicago. A lot of crazy times. Yeah, he's been there a few times too. We've had some good times. Those Rennick Miller, a lot of guys on the team, as the team evolved when I got onto it, didn't want to go hang out with him, but if you hung out with Rennick, he'd give you anything he could, anything out of the store. Yeah, was giving his shirt off his back to kids, loving it.
I forgot about that.
Just creating fans.
Tell the story.
You tell me. No, wait.
Story time.
Yeah. So I mean, there was there's a lot of people, but those, I mean, between coming up, going into the pro level, LB, Rennick and Jeremy for sure. I mean, those guys had the greatest impact on me. Slowiak, for the small brief time that he came out there, was larger than life. And if I just cut to it now, just to keep this short, I could see his door's closed, but I work right next to Billy Saransky. I took a picture of him today for social media, which we haven't used yet.
Posted on Grindr. I get it.
Yeah. He's got whoa, but hey, you don't want to mess with the B. No, I'm just kidding. I'll see if I can. It was him. He still
sells me a tank.
Yeah, him with his jersey here.
Oh, that's sweet. That's
Billy.
Really sweet.
Billy was the first person, first Aftershock player that I actually talked to in one of my first times ever at Badlands. And I said, "Hey, Mr. Saransky," like with my V-Force Morph goggles on, walking up like a nerd. "Can we play against you?" He was like, "Sure, kid. We're up there at that field," and it was the Keebler field. That's now just the trees left.
Yeah.
And okay, wow. He just, without even thinking, said, "There's an opportunity. We're up there." And that told me everything I needed to know, even though I did not go up there, because I was like, yeah, no, not a chance. No. But Billy, being able to work with him and the knowledge and the outlook on paintball that he has given me, and some of the opportunities I've had to sit in with him and learn about the industry, holy Jesus. So yeah, those are like 4 people. There's so many more. But
absolutely. And the whole thing is you're welcome to more shows that we have on, and it's one of those open-ended things that people always forget to thank certain people.
Next show I'm gonna fly into Indianapolis. I'll do it from Yaya's room.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Sounds great.
Drinking wine.
How about you?
I would like to also thank first I want to thank Nick Matthews. Like I said, like I told you guys at the beginning, like that guy's the one that found me. He's the guy that was like, "Hey kid, want to hang out?" Like I was like, "Yeah, I do. I want to play paintball and hang out with you." And he made it happen for me.
Love you, bro.
I love you too, buddy. Jeremy saw him, gave me the opportunity to play in pro as well. I can't thank him enough. I still talk to him a lot, like probably 4 times a week at least. And then Jason Chosen, he was a great coach, taught me like almost a whole nother level of a game that I can't even explain. Randy and Dannette Smith, without the Smith family, I couldn't put all these trophies on my shelf. DLX, they've been with us since the beginning of the time of Houston Heat. And, I can't say enough things other than it's the Bugatti of paintball guns and it's the best gun on the planet. I don't care how many auto cockers and everything else you want to hold up, but I get it. But to them with Adam Gardner and DLX, Tim Montrust, those guys, they truly have looked out. And then, one big important one to me is also HK Army. Marky and Josh and Jay and Fort and those guys, they have gone above and beyond to take us from a level of just being pro paintball players and making us feel like superstars. And I can't thank them enough for that. So, I can't go on enough about them, but yeah, that's another level. And, Brad, thank you for having us on here as well.
Well, thank you guys for being here, because that's the most important thing. I want your message to be able to get out to as many people as possible, because you guys have it. You understand it. You understand how it should be done. And especially you have that connection with the Midwest, which is important. It makes sense to me to do that. So Ninja Nick, I'm going to give you your chance to thank some people.
Well, I like to thank Greg Pauly, because he's the one that kind of taught me how to play he brought me out of the woods to play concept fields, play hyperball. And then Jeremy Salm, he's the one that gave me the opportunity to play on Aftershock, and Rennick Miller for actually giving me a job full time as, a professional paintball player, working at the Badlands, doing outside sales for Shock Tech, throwing, drop forwards and feed necks into the parts tumbler. Like he took care of me when I was up there. So, I mean, those three guys, they made me into the paintball player that I am. Without their help, I would just be some dude out in the woods with a Titman still, because that's what I love. I love playing in the woods.
God, that's a scary thought.
He's a ninja in the woods.
Oh my God, I'm not playing against him. You win.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, what I want to do is I want to thank you guys for coming out, having this chat with us. We will do more shows in the future. Yes, absolutely. And we can do more and grow this thing as well. I want to say thank you for taking your time out. Of course, when we go out and do some events, I'll be in touch and we can run other episodes in the future. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. And I know that the viewers thank you for your stories, and we will continue from that. So again, thank you all very much. And I know that when I get the OGs on, yes, I know when I get the OGs on soon, that's what I've been trying. But they want to be on here. So
you can see Babikoff on here. Get him on here.
Yes.
Get him and Psalm together. Maybe LB Foul.
Yes. I think we had LB on one of the Image episodes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So lots of layers here. So can just be on the lookout for any more of my messages, because we'll get you guys on again. So thank you. Thank you guys very much.
Right on.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks, guys.
Later.
All right. See you guys.
Later, boys.